In IELTS Listening, Skill 5 focuses on tasks like summary, note, and flowchart completion. These tasks test your ability to understand and organize information effectively while listening. You'll be asked to fill in gaps, summarize key points, or complete a flowchart, all of which require a clear understanding of the main ideas and details from the recording. Here are the instructions. For summary completion, you will hear a recording and then be asked to complete a summary of the information provided. Fill in the gaps with the correct words or phrases based on what you hear. For note completion, in this task, you will listen to a recording and fill in missing details on a note. Pay close attention to the specific information you need to complete the note. For flowchart completion, this involves completing a flowchart that summarizes the steps, processes, or events described in the audio. Focus on the sequence and relationships between the information. Here are the key strategies for IELTS Listening Skill 5. First, skim the task. Quickly glance at the summary, notes, or flowchart before listening to predict the missing information. Second, focus on keywords. Listen for main ideas, numbers, dates, and specific details that fill the gaps. Third, take brief notes. Jot down key points as you listen to help you remember information. Fourth, understand the sequence. For flowcharts, focus on the order and relationship between events or steps. Fifth, use correct grammar and spelling. Ensure the words you write fit the context, paying attention to tense, number, and word form. Last but not least, don't get stuck. If you miss something, move on and focus on the next part of the task. Here are a few exercises to help you practice IELTS Listening Skill 5, Summary, Note, and Flowchart Completion. You are going to hear a tutor and a student discussing the process of doing a research project on alternative energy. Listen and complete the flowchart below. Write no more than 3 words or a number.
Hi, James. How's your alternative energy research project going?
To be honest, I'm a bit confused about how to do the research for all the different energy types.
Well, the first thing you do is to make sure you focus your question, otherwise you'll have too much to read and you won't be able to select the key arguments.
So how do I do that?
Start with the general topic of alternative energy and then keep asking questions until you've narrowed the topic down to one particular area. Then, when you have your question, make a list of the reading you will need. This list should be general to give you some background, but remember you'll need to focus on the issues related to the question, so the reading list should also be specific to the actual energy source you've chosen, whether it's wind or solar or wave power.
And then start reading?
Absolutely. You need to start straight away, but don't forget to make notes as you read. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep track of ideas for future reference purposes.
Yes, that makes sense. I think that's my main problem. I don't recall where I've read different ideas, so I can't find them again later. And my friends have warned me that not recording ideas in a system can really hinder your progress.
Your friends are right. It's a common problem amongst students. You need a system. Anyway, once you've done the reading and made all your notes, you need to organise them so that you can analyse and think about what you've read.
But I prefer to just start writing and then go back and look at my notes later.
I wouldn't recommend it. I think you need to give yourself more time to digest the material and arrange it into some kind of system ready for analysis in terms of relevance to your research question.
Well, that's a great help. Thank you, Professor Jenkins.
You're welcome. Come and see me again if you have any more problems.
Now listen and complete the summary and exercise below with the correct words. A to L. Write one option. A to L. Next to 1 to 5.
Hi everyone, sorry I'm late.
Don't worry, Hannah, we've only just started. We thought we should go over the theories we've studied so far, so we're ready for the seminar discussion on Thursday afternoon.
Of course, you're right. I don't think I can remember all the theories related to consumer energy consumption.
No, Hannah, that's the reading for Friday's lecture. Thursday's seminar discussion is about the current thinking on alternative energy.
Oh yes. Sorry, I'm a bit disorganised at the moment.
Never mind. So, Mike, what do you think about the academics' point of view on nuclear energy?
Well, I think I have to agree with them on price being a factor for choosing nuclear in the long term.
Me too. It's definitely the most cost-effective measure. Don't you agree, Hannah?
To start with, I didn't, but the text Professor Edwards gave us persuaded me. The only thing that concerns me is that there have been some disasters in various parts of the world.
Yes, some texts warn of the dangers of nuclear power, using previous disasters as examples.
I know what you mean, but I suppose the risk is minimal these days. What do you think about wind and solar energy in terms of the price in relation to the advantages? For me, they're just not worth it. Both are expensive, and it's difficult to predict the amount of energy each one will produce.
You know, Mike, I'm afraid I don't share your opinion. This text here talks about the likelihood of improved technology increasing the amount of energy and reducing the costs in the future.
Yes, but that's not enough proof to be sure of the relationship between the costs and the benefits.
Exactly. The evidence seems incomplete to me.
Well, that's something we can follow up on with the rest of the group in the seminar on Thursday.
Listen and write no more than 2 words and or a number for each answer.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Simon Springer from City Tours. I see that we've generated quite a lot of interest. If everyone could just find a seat, I'll get started. Now, some of you might have read our brochure, in which case you won't need me. Well, no, joking aside, what I'd like to do first is to tell you a bit about us. We are an SU-approved student tour operator, which mainly covers the local area during the week and further afield at the weekend. Our service is reliable and our prices are competitive. We provide a wide range of tours both in the UK and on the continent, but I won't be talking about the European tours today. Instead, we'll be looking at excursions closer to home. One of the most popular with the Art and Design department is the Cranfield Art Gallery. The building itself is a stunning piece of modern 21st century architecture designed by the great architect George Lloyd, and it's set in 5 acres of parkland 2 miles outside the city centre. Its huge windows allow in more natural light than you would normally find in a gallery. At the same time, the structure itself cleverly shields the works of art from the damaging effects of direct sunlight. So, what can you see when you're inside? On display, there are a number of paintings from well-known artists, both local and international. If you are an art lover, you will almost certainly recognize some of the names. It boasts the celebrated Lady in the Rain, painted by the acclaimed 19th century Scottish artist George McAdams. Just a minute. There seems to be a type error in the brochure. It should read M-A-C, separate word, Adams, A-D-D-A-M-S. Sorry about that, folks. I'm sure that's the only one. There are not only portraits, but seascapes in miniature and landscapes of the local countryside, and a whole gallery devoted to modernism and abstract art. Yes?
Listen and write no more than 2 words and or a number for each answer.
Before turning to the future, it is only right that we should examine the history of the Mars expeditions, of which there have been 4 to date, with varying degrees of success. The first 2 rovers were sent by the Russians in the days of the International Space Race. These were called Mars 2 and 3 and were set to land in 1971. Unfortunately for the Russians, Mars 2 crashed on impact, and Mars 3 failed to operate more or less as soon as it landed. Despite the rocky beginning by the Soviets, this setback did not deter the Americans from going ahead with a series of missions to Mars, beginning with the Viking program, in which 2 space probes were launched in 1975. Both Viking Landers 1 and 2 landed successfully in 1976. The lander's dimensions were a mere 1.09 by 0.56 meters, and therefore could only carry a small amount of equipment with which to carry out biological testing. Dimensionally speaking, not particularly impressive, you may think, but remember, Viking 2 continued to operate on the surface for 1,281 days and served to provide the foundations for the knowledge compiled on the NASA Mars database right up to the beginning of the 21st century. As you can imagine, this was a great achievement for the time and provided the springboard for future missions. This success was followed by the 1997 launch of the Mars Pathfinder, which transported the Sojourner rover to the Red Planet. Compared with the previous mission, this was only moderately successful, operating for just under 2 months before malfunctioning. This was also a small lightweight robotic rover at 10.6 kilograms. But by this time, the equipment had advanced significantly with an onboard computer used for on-site data analysis. Last but not least, the Opportunity, which was launched in 2004 and was still operational in October 2011, surpassing the longevity of all other rovers up to date.
Listen and write no more than 2 words and or a number for each answer.
Hello, I'm Bob Wilson, and I'm here to talk to you about the possibility of there being other inhabitable worlds. It may seem strange, but ever since I was a child, I have looked up at the skies and wondered whether there are other people on other planets doing exactly the same thing as me. Perhaps we are a mere pinpoint of light in the skies amongst millions of others. The question is, where do we start looking? The time-honored expression, a needle in a haystack, comes to mind. But there are certain criteria which may help us to narrow down the odds. I will start by examining the location of possible life-bearing planets. One thing the universe is not short of is planets, fascinating in their wide diversity and because of their sheer number. Surely there must be more planets out there like our own. Naturally, there are limitations, the first one being the type of star which they orbit, some of which are far too hot or cold to support life. So the correct temperature is a crucial factor. This, of course, rules out the majority of stars in the cosmos. Let's take, for example, a fairly typical solar system with a smallish yellow sun which resembles our own. Orbiting it, there are 7 planets, some of which are rocky and others gaseous. 2 of these are located in the habitable zone. The others are either searingly close to the sun or occupy the frozen edges of the system. Either way, it is highly unlikely that any of these would be able to support intelligent life. So what about the others in the habitable zone? The likelihood of them being inhabited is still slim. Both Venus and Mars occupy this area, and yet neither of them have conditions conducive for life. So what makes us special? What separates our planet from the others? According to modern theorists, the key ingredients for life are water and greenhouse gases. These gases trap enough heat to warm the planet sufficiently to keep the seas liquid and our planet at a comfortable temperature. I'm sure a lot of our environmentalist friends would throw up their arms in horror, but there is a simple logic behind this theory. Carbon dioxide is the primary greenhouse gas in our atmosphere, and this was so even before the Industrial Revolution.